Come with me while we make a beautiful arrangement together. So I have this old piece of chicken wire, and I'm going to cut off this little piece on the end and make a floral frog. It's not a good idea to use your fiskars for this. You should use a wire cutter. The right tool for the job makes a world of difference. I'm going to cut this off right about here. Okay, so now you see I've got a little tiny piece of old chicken wire. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just curve this to fit into the bottom of my vase. I'll show you. Joey's going to get under her foot during this project. Aren't you, Joe? You're going to get in the way? You're going to let me do my chores. You want to go outside? All right, here, go. Go outside. Go outside, it's a nice day, go. So here's the vase. Here's the vase that I'm going to use. It's a nice Mikasa bowl that I've had for many years. But it's shallow. So what you want to do is put a frog down in the bottom so that you could arrange your stems. So here's what I did. I just bent over that chicken wire and made it like a little arch on the top there, see? And just set it down into the bowl. So it's fairly flush with the top. And just a little mound over the top. Okay? Now I'm just going to fill that vase with water and start cutting some blooms. So let's go pick some things for this arrangement. Now, usually I like to put some ferns around the edges. But that's my patch of ferns, so they're pretty much done for the season right there. You see them? They're all kind of shriveled up. So let's do something a little different. Let's use some of the Swiss chard instead. So I picked about 6 stems of that Swiss chard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the ends even. And then I'm going to arrange them around the bowl. And of course, guess who has to get up here and get in the action? Joey. You don't belong on the table. Get down. Get down. Get down, you fresh cat. Joey. 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 It looks like Joey wants to arrange the flowers and get a drink. Joey. Get down. Get down. Come on, get down. Get down. Joey, get down. Get down. Now I have a base layer of chard there. I want something else that'll hang down in between. So I'm going to go pick some goldenrod now. Goldenrod grows naturally. I've never planted this. It's a native to Connecticut. So I've got it along my fence line here. That one's hanging. I'm going to definitely hang that one. And then I've got it in my flower bed. So I'm going to pick some of that. Well, I've picked some solidago, otherwise known as goldenrod. But I'm also looking at these pokeberries. So I think I'm going to pick a couple stems of those too. I moved over the tablecloth because these blooms are a little wet. As you can see, the goldenrod or solidago has multi-branching stems here. Okay, so I'm not going to use this whole thing because that would overpower the arrangement. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off these little spikes and use those individually. I'll show you. So what I'm doing with these stems is I'm stripping off all the lower leaves. So here's the flower. And then from about this spot down, I'm taking off all these leaves. And then I'm putting them in the water around the edge. And then I took the top branch, I took out the middle piece and I added it there for a second layer in the center. You'll see as we build this out. Okay, so what we have here now is some solidago around where the Swiss chard leaves are. And then the 4 little pops of pokeberries. Now let's go pick some zinnias. Now surprisingly, this is one zinnia plant. And look at all the blooms on it. Now I want this to flush out again before fall comes. So I am going to harvest these blooms. And you see there's more coming. So I'm going to harvest these blooms and I'm going to get another flush before fall comes. I'm going to show you where to harvest them. Now there's a perfect little bloom and I'm going to harvest that bloom. So if you follow the stem down, you see there's another one starting right there. So I'm going to harvest the stem to the juncture. I'm going to harvest right there at the juncture so I don't disturb that next bloom that's going to come up. Here's a bloom that has 2 more coming up. There's one and there's the other one. So I follow the stem all the way down and I could harvest it right here. So here's the pile of zinnias I just harvested. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all these lower leaves. Okay, that way the plant will focus on keeping the bloom nice. And as I'm adding them to the arrangement now, I'm going to start using that chicken wire. So see how the chard leaves are down here? And the goldenrod. And now I'm going to come through with the zinnias. So I'm starting to give this arrangement some height. So this is what it looks like so far. But I see a lot of little holes that I could still add more flowers to. And that's the beauty of using a fat vase. So let's go out and pick some marigolds and see what else we could put in here. So the more I thought about it, the more I realized that I love colorful bouquet. And I didn't have any blues or purples in there. So what I'm going to do is I want to pick some blue ageratum. And if you noticed when I harvested the goldenrod in front, the solidago, I have a row right in front in the flower bed. And I don't want to disturb that because it looks really pretty. I've got a little bit growing in here, but I noticed that this little sneaky path that I have here, it's all growing in here and it's in the way. So I'm going to harvest this and kill 2 birds with 1 stone, so to speak. And here's what it looks like so far with the addition of the blue ageratum. I'm a little heavy with the zinnias on this side. So maybe I need to pick a few more zinnias for this side. And then a focal flower for the top. Okay, so as you can see, if you look really close in between, you still see the floral frog. Alright, so the trick is to fill it with enough flowers that you don't see that anymore. Now if you look from down below here, you don't see that frog at all. You just see the pretty Mikasa vase. So let's go outside and see what else we can put in here. This is a possibility, a little bit of this rudbeckia or black-eyed Suzies. As you can see, I started deadheading these. All these dead ones have to come off and you could save seed for next year. But this next batch is coming up nice and strong. So I might be able to get a couple of pretty blooms off of that. I've got it in a few other spots too. Let's keep walking around and see what we find. When you're harvesting flowers, don't overlook some of the more unusual things. For instance, This here, that looks like Queen Anne's lace, that's actually a carrot that went to seed. Okay, so if I let that bloom go, the bees will pollinate it and I'll have more carrot seed next year. You see there's a bunch more coming. But that would make a pretty bloom to put in an arrangement. And then here's another one. See this bed right here? I have some fennel going to seed. And I have some arugula going to seed. And those blooms would make a pretty addition too. But as you can see, the bees are starting to come out. The yellow jackets are starting to come out. And so this is not fun, especially this time of year when the yellow jackets decide to guard their territory. Here's another one. See that? Those are wild asters. Those come up by themselves in the fall too. With those pretty little daisy-like flowers. Make nice little arrangements. I'll show you one that I made in my dining room that's all weeds like this. And it came out awesome. Here's something else that you could use in an arrangement. These are a little spent right now, but this is English plantain. And it's growing in the foundation of my house, which it doesn't belong here. So I need to pull these out. But the little seed heads are really cute. If you let your lawn go for a while and you have some English plantain in there, it'll make seeds like this. It'll come up before the grass and it's easy to harvest. So here's that row of ageratum I didn't want to touch. And I've got enough solidago already. And there's no roses blooming right now, so we're not going to pick any of those. I might get some of these marigolds. I have two different kinds here. I have French marigolds, and then I have African marigolds. And I think I might grab a couple of these orange ones. Now, another thing that I have growing over here is purple morning glories. Now, they only open in the morning, all right? And they don't make good cut flowers. As soon as you pick them, they're going to close up. So don't choose those. I have a little bit of yarrow here, but that's going to come back for a second bloom. So it's not really ready yet. And then I have coneflowers here that I need to deadhead. And I was hoping that I would have one in good shape that I could use as the signature flower, but it doesn't look like it. However, I do have a couple of late blooming gladiolas. And they're right at the end of their bloom. And that one looks like it's bent. So I'm going to harvest that as the signature flower. It's looking really pretty already. But I think I'm going to add just a couple of black-eyed Suzies in there. I added the marigolds and that one gladiola top that I still had. Well, I couldn't find any pretty black-eyed Suzies that were in full bloom. So what I did is I added the rest of that solidago, and it did make a difference. There was one other thing that I went and picked outside, and it's these cattails. So I'm debating whether or not I want to add them because you know who loves cattails, huh, Joey? Joey, do you love cattails? Do you love cattails? So there you go. There is the finished arrangement. I'm not sure I like the cattails, but we'll see. So to recap, here is the final arrangement. And we started with this Mikasa bowl. To that we added a little piece of chicken wire and called it a frog. They make ones that they have fancy ones, glass ones and wire ones. They've been around for a long time, but you can just use a little piece of chicken wire. And then to that we added the leaves of the Swiss chard. this there. Added that as the lowest level. And then we added some solidago, also known as goldenrod. And then we picked a bunch of zinnias. And then we harvested some blue ageratum. And some marigolds. And we picked the last gladiola as a focal flower on top. And for a little whimsy, I added a few cattails because Joey likes cattails. And that's the final arrangement on my kitchen table, which now that I made a mess of it, I need to change the tablecloth because it's all wet. And that should last you at least a week on your kitchen table, okay? Just add water to the vase. Now, I'm going to show you something that I put on my dining room table. I made this arrangement about 2 weeks ago now, and it's still holding up. But this arrangement was made entirely of weeds. The only flowers that I really had in here was at the top. I had a couple of stems of gladiolas when they were in full bloom, but they've since been done. They looked awful, so I pulled them out of the arrangement. But this is making such a statement on my dining room table. And basically, it's just weeds, okay? What we had in here was some solidago, which is goldenrod. We had pokeberries. We had amaranth. We had, I don't know if you can see that. Those are those asters that I was showing you. Okay. And then I just have a couple of straw flowers in here still. Those are the only real flowers. Was the straw flowers and the gladiola, which is gone now. But it still looks pretty awesome. So we'll leave that on the dining room table. Now the message here is, don't be afraid to make arrangements, and that you don't have to have a breathtaking garden of fancy flowers. All you have to do is use your own fancy and create something beautiful for your home. And don't overlook the dried flowers too. Those are all flowers from my garden from the previous season. And a little plaque my girlfriend Tammy made me when she came to visit the other day. And here's an arrangement that was mostly marigolds, to which I added the arrangement that I made before that, which had zinnias and amaranth and cattails in it. And basically what I did is I reused the blooms from the arrangement that was dying and added it to the vase of marigolds that I made. So this time of year, my house is full of fresh flowers because this is a very enjoying and relaxing thing to do. And then there's the one that we made today together with the floral frog. Okay, get out there in the sunshine and go pick something and make something beautiful for your home. Love you. Bye-bye.